first attempt.
Our first attempt. We still have a lot to learn. I ended up, not recording myself while we were talking for like 30 minutes, and so we
About
had to start over
hummingbirds!
about hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds are warriors!
Yeah, apparently hummingbirds are very renowned for their warlike behavior.
Yes, it's in Aztecs. There's an Aztec god who's very, very prominent, and he is represented by the hummingbird.
That's so cool. So I'm Sarah. I'm the author of Chicken Thoughts, the cartoon about a cockatiel and sometimes Blue Boy, who is my parrotlet. I have a bachelor's in computer science with a focus on human-computer interaction from Stanford, and so I ended up taking a lot of psychology courses, and they were actually, fun fact, in the building where the Stanford prison experiment actually took place. I took courses like Psychology 1, Sensation and Perception, Personality and Affect, Social
Oh.
Psychology, etc. But I am not a clinical therapist. I did not take abnormal psychology. So, um, yeah.
Golf
And
clap.
you are.
I am Jen. I founded Birdhism. I am a bird care advocate. I have an Associates of Science in Graphic Design. I took like a psychology and sociology class, kind of basics, but I do have an active interest in both those things because I want to know why people do the things they do and how to work with them better. Um, but yeah, I have over a decade of volunteering in the world of avian and wildlife rescue. Um, I lived around individuals of various psychological conditions. So I learned a lot from them, firsthand experience. Um, but yeah, I have participated in therapy on and off since I was like, what, 4? Um, just to maintain my brain and how I react to the outside world. I
Nice.
like birds.
And I like birds.
I like birds.
All right. Well, this episode is of what is our podcast name?
Birds and nerds.
Birds and Nerds is going to be about human psychology and bird psychology.
And
Uh,
nerdy stuff.
and nerdy stuff. And just whatever we happen to, go off on a tangent about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realized after I sent out the poll that when people were voting on human psychology and bird psychology, that maybe when people are thinking about psychology, like on the internet, a lot of the time maybe people think that that is specifically abnormal psychology or psychopathology, like anxiety, depression, stuff like that, when really psychology is like an umbrella over a lot of different uh, human thinking and behaviors. I actually didn't take any abnormal psychology courses in my career at Stanford. Um,
I
abnor-
lived them.
you lived. I mean, I got to live some of it too. I don't know if people know, but
Yeah.
both of us
A
have
lot of
been
people do.
in therapy, and yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank goodness there's therapy. I honestly think everybody should get a chance to go to therapy
I agree.
whenever. Yeah, because there's just it's nobody can be perfect.
No, and we shouldn't expect people to. And everybody needs a little help sometimes.
Yeah, and
Um,
America has such a huge um, drug use problem.
mhm.
Like, I think over 100 million people like report regularly using drugs and alcohol, which, I mean, you probably can be, very mentally healthy and still like partake from time to time, but I don't think that's where we're at as a country at the moment.
I think it's a lot of escapism, like just they're so stressed, so overwhelmed.
Yes.
They just turn to it as a remedy, and once they succumb to it, it's hard to just you become dependent and you can barely find your own happiness at that point without like special treatment. And I feel like, well, you were talking about hurt people.
Yeah.
Um, and we both believe that wholeheartedly. And I mentioned before that in order to help birds, we have to help people. because they're intertwined. If you help people, you help a lot of things. And it's not very black and white. Everyone has different needs. Um, so hopefully I can get my therapist friend to come in, uh, so we're not like armchair diagnosing and
Yeah.
describing things. Like we'll get an actual professional to perhaps assist, offer some professional coping habits, and they can even reflect off of us as to what has worked with us in the past or what hasn't worked for us.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I know it can be very trying, like, because parrots are like toddlers. And so taking
Hmm.
care of a toddler for decades, you have to be um, you have to have a lot of mental fortitude to be able to handle that well, I think.
Patience, pain
Yeah.
tolerance.
And they bite. Every parrot bites. And
Oh,
it hurts more emotionally than it does physically, for me at least, to be bit
yeah, it's
hard
like,
by my
why?
bird. Yeah, like, why don't you hate me?
What did I do to deserve this?
Oh my
You
gosh.
exist,
You
as Hilda
inconvenience
would
me.
say.
Oh, Hilda. Oh my
Oh,
goodness. I want a
Hilda,
whole episode about like angry bird, sassy bird
I'm a
psychology.
little sassy queen.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I guess I wanted to have a disclaimer at the beginning that uh,
Yeah,
content warning, we're probably going to be talking about abuse and self-harm in this video. So if that's something that's very sensitive to you, I encourage you not to put yourself through any pain unless you feel like you're ready to. And then we're also not licensed therapists. We're not credentialed, and we're not veterinarians either.
we are
Um,
nerds.
yeah, we're just nerds. We're just excited to talk about it. And I'm going to link any research that I reference so that you can read further into it. I encourage you to, in case, maybe I misinterpret the results. It's always good to check um, what's it called?
The sweet, sweet nectar of sources.
Yes.
Original source material.
Yeah, it's the methodology. That's what I'm trying to say. And also, who paid for the science? That's also something very important to look
Mm.
into.
Oh, one thing I can indefinitely say is whenever you get into a relationship, be it roommates, like romantic relationship, always have an escape plan, always have an oh crap fund, because that makes getting away from potential toxicity that much more easier. Have your own
And
account, have your own backup money.
that's good for birds too, right? You want to explain how?
Oh, of course. Yes. So when I was going through the breakup, I did have my babies, and I did have the means to get a U-Haul. I had the means, my friend drove my car up, and then I was driving the truck back to my parents' house. It could be a friend's house, parents' house, what have you. Um, but yeah, it was easy peasy versus uh just, oh, what if I had to go to a new apartment? What if that apartment didn't allow birds?
Hmm.
Um, are there locations in the area that does allow birds? Um, yeah, so just always have a way out, because you never know. You never go into a relationship thinking that it's going to end horribly, but it does happen, and just prepare for it.
That's good advice. I know that there's um, shelters, like a lot of women's shelters don't allow pets. So I've
Which
heard that many surrenders to like shelters, parrots that are surrendered to shelters, are surrendered because um, their owner had to leave an abusive situation, but then didn't have anywhere to go that accepted birds.
That makes me sad. We need to do like some sort of community outreach to where people will be like, yeah, I'm a safe space for somebody in need who has parrots.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice. We should do that.
And
We
shelters that
also,
allow parrots.
I know it's like here near Austin is very pet friendly. People walking their dogs everywhere. I walked the burbs around and they just laughed and thought it was cute. Um, I don't know why it can't be like that in the rest of the country.
Yeah, I
Pets are
don't know.
family.
They are. That reminds me of whenever the Texas froze over, and was it 2022 February?
Mhm.
Um, it got to be about 50 degrees in our apartment. It was getting to be too dangerous for birds. We had
Mhm.
no power,
Oh,
and it was only going to get colder. It was like 12 degrees outside. And I was starting to look into like hotels, couldn't find any, all booked up. I looked into the shelter that they were offering to keep people warm, and they said no pets are allowed. And I was like, great. I just have to try to keep chicken alive as best I can. It was terrible.
but this time, see, I thought about that because it's 20 degrees outside right now in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a little battery, backup battery, bit of a chonker, and I could just hook the heat lamp up to it and like put a blanket
Oh,
over them and keep them toasty. Uh, we could heat, what I would do is we would heat up my car and one by one using the little portable heat lamp, pop them in the heated car, and then we would go drive
oh,
to his mom's who has a fireplace. And yeah, that would be my game plan if we do lose power.
that's a really good idea. And now I have my own house, and I have a generator, and I
Oh.
have a radiator that I'm ready to plug into an extension cord, and I'm ready to keep chicken warm this time. I have learned my lesson to be prepared.
Learn from experiences past that,
Yes.
hey, it happens and it can really, really be scary and sucky.
Yeah, I feel like it was traumatic for me. Like I was never
Ooh.
scared of freezing temperatures before. It makes me think of phasmophobia.
Oh no, the ghosts, get the smudge stick.
We got freezing temperatures, guys.
Uh,
I was never concerned about snow. I loved it, and now whenever I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna lose power. Chicken's gonna freeze.
frozen chicken.
I don't want any frozen
No.
chicken.
Well, I was in a
Um,
hurricane,
oh
and a
yeah.
friend of mine opened their house to me and like my 20 rescue burbs. She legit opened her house. Her family's like, whatever, come on in. Because I was in a trailer, and that was
Oh.
not a safe place. So I hauled all my babies in my Yaris and we waited out the storm. Um, and Oh yeah, we were filling the bathtub full of water and I
Whoa.
picked up the bucket wrong from the kitchen sink and it broke and it spilled like 4 gallons of water all over their kitchen floor and I felt so bad.
Oh no.
I was like, you can't take me nowhere.
Oh no.
So we cleaned at least they had a clean floor after that. It wasn't carpet.
Oh yeah, it's good it's not carpet. Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it's just like always don't be paranoid, but be just a little overly cautious because if you're in Florida, if you're where it snows, be prepared.
Yeah, and being overly cautious, that would be a really good topic for another video too, because boy, it's easy to go whole hog and be just absolutely helicopter parent to birds. I feel like I'm more on that
Yes.
spectrum, on that end of the spectrum
Oh,
anyway.
I used
Yeah,
to
and
think
like I think
Cody
it
did
annoys
that so
relatives.
much. Oh, they can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten like a ceramic cookware as a gift, and then I'm like,
Hmm.
I can't use this.
Well, we can
Which,
use ceramic. We just can't use the
oh,
Teflon
sorry,
ones.
I meant Teflon. Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
using
yeah, yeah.
Teflon cookware, and then
Same.
I'm like, this is, yeah, it's just a whole
I'm
thing.
not trying to be a jerk or ungrateful, but my feathered
Yeah,
child, could meet a horrible fate if I use this.
right. It really change if you're very careful and try to be by the books, like it really, really changes your whole lifestyle, I feel.
It do.
Yep.
And like no matter how cautious you are, accidents still happen.
I
And
know, and like sometimes I heard this horrible story about somebody who was doing something to be careful for their bird, keep them warm, and it ended up overheating their bird.
oh no, yeah,
Yeah,
just
so it's like, ah, you can't win.
You just kind of gotta be. Now for Jester, I always assume a bird is on the floor. And I just stop,
Yeah.
assess the situation, watch where the heck Jester's going, coming and going before I sit down, before I take another step, because I don't want to confine her to a cage where
No.
I could just be obsessively paranoid and
Yeah.
assume she's on the floor. Oh, we could talk about the Ellie bird situation.
Oh, what's the Ellie bird
What
situation?
with the shaking her head no, she learned how to shake her head no.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Tell us about that.
So Ellie Bird Conyers, she loved my dad, and it was time for her to go to bed. And I walked up to her and presented my hand, and she shook her head like she was saying no. And me and my dad started laughing, and I pulled away my hand during the process. And then we did it again. I showed my finger to her, like, here, step up. She shook her head, no, again. I pulled my finger away and we were laughing. And in that instance, she learned if she shook her head in that fashion, I would take my finger away. So from then on, if she did not want to step up, instead of biting me, she would shake her head no.
It's almost like you both trained each other.
We did. That happens a lot with birds. They train you
Yeah,
just as much as you train them.
it's so true. And so it's like you learned that if she shakes her head no, she doesn't want to step up. And she learned
Yeah.
if she shakes her head no, you won't make her.
And then to kind of reinforce that, so that, like, I needed to get her in the cage. So I grabbed this little rag that she
Hmm.
liked to launch at, and I just like held it in front of her. She grabbed on it, and I just took her to her house to go to bed. So the
Oh.
rag became the too bad you're going to bed. And instead of using my finger, because if I use my finger to like kind of force it on her, I feel like that would have destroyed the little uh trick we had going on.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Does she hate the rag still? Does she lunge at it or what?
Oh, she likes to attack rags. That's just her
Okay.
thing.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know, like, was it Jester does the same thing. So in the morning to get Jester out of her little sleepy bin, I put the rag in front of her. I pull her out because she grapples onto it, and I kiss her back. I go,
Oh.
mwah, and then she kisses back, and I deposit her in the cage with the rag, and she slowly lets go of it and takes her morning dump, and we're good. I reacquire the rag.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
have a
wonder if
routine.
maybe the rag was like used in a past life,
Maybe pretty past life.
and then that became a very evil object. Like, don't come near me with that.
Yeah, it could be. It's just people say, "Oh, a bird was abused, and that's why they
Ah.
don't like X, Y, and Z." And I'm like,
Ah.
"Yeah, that could be a thing, or it's just a weird bird thing that they don't like, whatever." Paco
Yeah.
didn't like glasses that had sparkles on them, and he would get very offended by them. I don't know why.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder if there's something Chicken doesn't like. She really hates the broom, which I wonder if maybe it looks like a bird or something to her. Like she's always hated the broom.
Oh,
And it did seemingly came from nothing. Um,
right.
yeah, I don't know.
Brooms, vacuum. Some of my birds don't mind the vacuum. Others will scream bloody murder when it's coming. Um, Paco didn't like paper towels for some reason. He was the sweetest bird in the world until you took out a paper towel to wipe the counter, and he would just start attacking me. Like he would attack my ears and
Ow.
just my hands. He's like, get that out of my face. And then my friend Izzy was like, it's because Comrade Paco does not like the white flag of defeat. And so we used to call him Comrade Paco
Aw.
for that. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Uh,
Well, I
this
wanted to. Oh, yeah?
Go ahead. How it ties, yeah, you want to talk about like how it ties in, right? To the
Yeah,
study.
because that reminds me of B.F. Skinner's theory of learning. So he was this huge psychologist who studied or basically came up with operant conditioning. So we talked about this before. Do you remember what classical conditioning is?
With the bell.
Yeah, Pavlov's dogs is classical conditioning where you have like Two stimuli that are paired together, they end up being associated. So, like when Pavlov would ring the bell and then give the dogs food, um, eventually just ringing the bell would be enough to elicit a salivation response in the dogs. That's classical conditioning. Operant conditioning is just the belief that whatever behavior you reinforce is what they will keep doing, or what behavior will stay. So in your case with Ellie, you reinforced the, shaking your head means I don't want to step up by not making her step up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
And laughing. I think the laughter also helped with like positive reinforcement.
Oh yeah. I've heard that like making a lot of noise will make birds excited, and so it's
Yeah,
kind of like reinforcing the behavior.
because like when they get excited, they make loud noises too. So we're making like happy loud noises. It's just
Ah.
like, yeah, yeah, praise, yeah.
Even if it's like an angry sounding yell, like do they still find that really fun?
I think yes and no. Like if what is it? If a bird screams, don't scream back to them because they'll just think it's a screaming match. They'll just see who can scream louder. So, but I also feel like birds are empathetic. Like I do think, and there's studies to this now, that they do sense emotions.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah. So like, uh, if she sensed that we were like doing happy noises, I feel like she might have been perceptive to it because I mean they're social intelligent creatures, and
Mhm.
just as we perceive people's emotions, I feel like the birdies do as well.
They pick up on feelings, but not necessarily like if you're angry at them, they may misunderstand and think it's a game.
I think so.
Okay.
Hold on. There's that. Where is it? I'm gonna pull up. Where the heck the link? Uh, where did I put it? Um, it said decoding empathy and compassion in bird behavior.
Oh yeah?
Let's see. Compassion, often thought as a human trait, is interwoven into the fabric of avian societies. Um, let's see. This is from unifiedbirds.com, and this is the takeaways. Bird behavior reveals intricate layers of empathy and compassion. Empathy in birds extend beyond instinct, forming social bonds and connections, which I totally think they do with humans based on our mannerisms, their
Mhm.
mood, um, are the tones of our voices, as to whether or not they take like an angry yell as something to be afraid of or something to troll or just react in indifference maybe. um I can't say for sure, but I feel like there could be something to it. Sharing resources, altruism in birds.
I did see a study
I'm just
about that I linked in here that was really interesting.
oh
That the African greys displayed reciprocity in like some study, a lot like humans do. Are you familiar with that one?
yeah, like I think one didn't get enough treats and the other one felt bad and was like, here you go, have my treat.
I remember seeing a video about that. I'm not sure if that's the same study that I linked
Oh,
here. And also, a lot of these, like you can only see the abstract unless you Google like the title
oh.
of the study plus PDF, and then maybe you'll be able to find them. Don't do that, but wink. So this African gray study that I looked at in the abstract, it talked about this interesting setup where they had humans paired with the parrots that
Oh.
they would have the humans either be selfish or selfless, or just copy whatever the bird is doing. And if the bird was paired with a selfish person, they wouldn't share. But if the bird was paired with a selfless person who would share with them, they would share in order to maximize the amount of rewards that the pair would get together. Um, which that reminds me of what you said about like flock cohesion, where
Mm-hmm.
a lot like humans, we kind of evolve as groups more than just like
Yes.
evolving as individuals. So like the groups that have cohesion and kind of stick together are way more likely to survive than the ones that are very selfish and fight, which says something about our society, but I don't know if I'm going to get into all
Oh.
that. Let's
He.
all get along.
That's exactly it. And then people form into little cliques for this reason or that. And if we would just stop looking only just for ourselves and look out for what benefits everybody as a whole, we can move forward together.
Yeah, I read this book, and I think I sent it to you. I'm not sure. Did I buy this for you? The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt.
No, you gave me the something about like the real love one.
Oh yeah, by Dr. Greg Bear. Yeah, that's a really good one too.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
I feel like that applies to birds as well. But
Hmm.
the Jonathan Haidt book is one of my favorite books. And he talks about group evolution and groupishness, where like groupishness is very advantageous and thinking like my group is better than the other groups and I focus on keeping my group alive first. But there's
Mm.
no reason that I can think of that you couldn't just include everyone in your group. You know what I mean? Like just see everyone and all creatures as part of your group. At least that's how I look
Scarcity.
at.
Maybe
Yeah.
false scarcity can kind of detriment who you prioritize,
Scarcity.
like,
Yeah,
or
I could see
it can
that.
be detrimental too. And so they're like, well, so that's why there's like a hierarchy. It's like, I'm gonna keep these people alive first and then everybody else. But then at some point, maybe some selfishness factors in and corruption factors in, and then everyone's back to like taking sides again.
Yeah. And do you see that in birds?
Uh, I know freaking Mikey. Like, I'll give an almond to Mikey and I'll give an almond to Pico. Mikey will go drop his almond and go steal Pico's.
Oh.
And then eat the almond he dropped later. So
Mhm.
there's some selfishness.
Yeah, Blue Boy would do that to Chicken too. Like he would try to eat her food.
And then it's like, oh, and I'll have mine for later.
Yeah, it seemed like he had this feeling of scarcity, like you were saying. Like I talked to
Yeah.
an avian behaviorist named Tiffany about it, and she was suggesting that maybe he feels like he's got food insecurity almost.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it definitely it paints a different picture. Trying to put yourself in the bird's shoes, like what
Mhm.
behavior they're actually like doing. And for me, it was huge to look at Blue Boy when he would be really angry or mean, to see him as scared. Like
Mhm.
he's not doing this because he's just a mean bird. Like
Like Hilda.
like this is just how he's trying to survive. Anyway.
Hilda takes pleasure out of like me being slightly scared of her.
She's on the dark triad or whatever. She's a psychopath bird.
Yeah. But she's learning though. She likes to rough play. She's just feisty in everything she does. And I'm starting to understand like that's just how she is and work with her crazy instead of against the crazy.
Mhm.
And since I've been like, she likes throwing toys around, so I throw toys around with her, and then she does like this little happy chirp, and
Oh.
we've got a little thing going on, and yeah, I mirrored her behavior in some ways, and she flies over to me. She hangs out with me during flutter time.
Oh.
Granted, she's sitting on my head, but it's better than her just staring at me angrily from her house.
Oh. That sounds like it's
So,
had a really positive effect on your relationship with her.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's a lesson to be learned with birds is work with them instead of, don't always be trying to mold them into what you expect of them and what you want of them.
True.
It's like, yeah, I read in a book, they're here with us, not for us.
Oh yeah?
Um, yeah.
That sounds like a good book.
Yeah, it was I think it was Of Parrots and People,
Okay.
by Mira Tweedy. Yeah. That's it. Talks about kind of like the plight of birds in our homes and the trade, and it's not entirely a happy read, it's an insightful read
Mm-hmm.
about the struggles of companion birds and the
Ah,
industry and the pet trade. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things in there I agreed with. I highlighted a bunch in there too.
I'd be interested in reading that. And I'm gonna link that too. What do you think about punishment? I'd say a little bit
Mm.
about punishment in humans first. Um, so B.F. Skinner, the guy that came up with like operant conditioning, he was basically able to control animals. Like he was kind of like
Oh.
a druid in the sense that his conditioning was so effective he could just get animals to do whatever he wanted. But
Mm,
he argued that punishment was not really that useful.
mm-mm.
It didn't really
Scared.
change their behavior in the long term. It did in the short term, but then they would usually just avoid the punishment instead of avoiding the behavior that caused the punishment. Um,
Hmm.
and then I also read that physical punishment in humans, at least, there's a meta analysis, which I'm going to link, on punishment that shows that there's a really strong correlation, even if you control for a number of variables between like physical punishment of children, of human children, and aggression. And some even were able to infer causation by training the parents to reduce the aggression they used against children. And then the results showed that those children became less aggressive over the course of the study more than any of the other
Oh.
children. Um, so I'm curious, like, is that the same as with birds?
Yeah, I mean, never hit a bird. Like you're just gonna make them fearful or hate you.
Hmm.
Like you said, it works in the short term, perhaps, but in the long term, like I feel that it builds up and they're gonna be afraid of you. If you do like positive reinforcement training, um, like we're talking with Ellie, like it doesn't even have to be a treat in some instances. It just has to be praise and just like instant. It has to be instant so they can see exactly I do this, this happens. If you do this and you wait too long,
Hmm.
I don't think they absorb it as much. But
Hmm.
if yeah, just oh you did good and I get praised for doing this, I get a treat for doing this, I'm encouraged to keep doing it. And without any of the side effects of the negative reinforcement.
Gotcha. And negative reinforcement are you using to mean punishment?
Yeah, punishment like taking away food, like oh, make a if you take food away, it'll make them learn faster when you give them the treats. It's like, nah. Nah, you can it may take a little longer to like, have them be responded, especially if you get like a budgie. A budgie is a prey animal. They're afraid, so it might take them a little longer
Hmm.
to respond to like treats equal pets, and then pets is a reward in itself. Um, yeah.
Gotcha. So when let's say that a parrot has learned a bad behavior, and like say chicken's not allowed in the kitchen,
Eh.
but she goes there very often because she doesn't care what I think.
Because
um,
bird.
because bird. Anyway, like even if I'm just doing the dishes, she's in the cage locked up whenever I'm cooking, but if I'm like doing the
Mhm.
dishes, she'll come fly right in. Um, anyway, so say that you have a bird that is just repetitively doing a behavior you don't want. Is there a way to stop them?
Let's
Like, do any
see.
of your birds ever do anything that you're like, no, you cannot do that?
Yeah, like pooping on me.
Okay.
So Mikey, let's use Mikey. Uh Before in the morning I wait till he does his big old poopy and then he steps up because I would wait. I would have him sit on his door and I'll put a garbage can under him and I would wait until he would do it. And once he do it, I would say, good boy, and he would step up.
Oh.
And that was like do that enough of times, he gets the hint and he'll do that. Um, but he also, like, even this morning, we were having like birdie time, and he walked over to one side of the couch and was just like looking out the window. And then he waddled back over, went onto his perch, did a poopy, and then went back about his business because he realized, like, whenever he let go on the couch, I'll go, no, Mikey, no, no, and I would clean it up and put him
Mhm.
on the perch. Um, he also learned go poopy. So if I put him on the perch, because it's been a while, I go, Mikey, you gotta go poopy. He'll be like, oh, and he will go on the perch
Okay.
instead of on the couch. So I don't know.
So it sounded like
Yeah.
he knew not to poop on the couch because you would sound disappointed in him.
Yeah, and then I would put him on the perch and be like, no, Mikey, no.
Okay, and you use like a low tone, like,
Yeah.
and is the perch like a timeout?
The perch isn't so much a timeout. It's just this is where you go when I don't want you either on me or on the couch.
Is he flighted? Could he have just said like, I
Yes.
don't want to be on the perch. I'm gonna fly somewhere else.
Oh yeah, yeah, because the perch was close enough that he could just hop off of it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And Pico, same thing. They will go to the perch because, like, and I'll, because we kind of made a routine out of it. Like, go poopy means do this. And then I also get upset when you do it on me because I'll look at it and want to wipe it off and kind of make a big deal out of it, to kind of show them, hey, I don't like this. And they were
Hmm.
responsive to it.
Oh, that's awesome. They were
Yeah.
responsive to it. I wonder what, like, they didn't think it was fun when you were talking to them, like, immediately after?
No, they, like, I would put them on the perch, and I guess they wanted to be with me, but they saw
Oh,
that they got on the perch when they did that to me or did that to the couch, so they made a connection.
I see. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I've been, like, if I put chicken away or put her, like, off of me, if I've been, like, accidentally sending her a signal that whatever
Hmm.
she was doing was not desirable, even if maybe that wasn't related at all. Like maybe I just put her
Mm.
off of me because I had to do something different. It's interesting.
But then you get Milo who doesn't care. And we go, Milo, go over here. I need to type something real quick. And he marches right back over to me and sticks
Oh,
his face under my thumb. And
oh,
I can't do anything. So, like, you got certain birds that are responsive to it, and then you got other birds who just don't care.
oh.
That
Well
that is
then,
a thing. Like, you need to have like a willing student.
mm, I see. And so, what happens when Milo disrupts your work? Like, are you just forced to just keep your thumb where it is until he goes away, or do you just scratch him? What happens?
Sometimes I will take him and like burrito him in like a blankie. Like, he'll go on my chest and I'll wrap him up, and sometimes he'll like get cozy and stay in there.
Oh.
Um, Sometimes I have to put him in his house. I'm like, sir. Sometimes I just put him to go flutter with the others.
I don't know. We shouldn't want to be controlling our birds, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, people are like, how do I make my bird do this? And I'm like, well, you can do the positive reinforcement training with like praise and treats, of course. Like, you can do that even with Milo. I
Mhm.
could probably offer him a treat if I snap my fingers and put it on top of his cage and he'll go have the treat. But I don't want to like be
Oh,
that controlling of him. I kind of just want him to be able to do his thing.
interesting. And then what happens when you have to go to the vet then? Like, if they're kind of treated as independent, you know, not as trained, like, does that become a problem?
Well, we took Hilda to the vet, and I went to scoop her back up and put her back in the house. And she got out and she went onto the tallest shelf of the office.
Uh-huh.
And we had to, the tech turned off the light, and then she got scared, and then she went to me because she could see me from the glow of the computer.
Uh-huh.
So she knew I was safe. And then I like in like a one fluid motion scooped her up and slid her back in her carrier.
So does she, when she's getting weighed, does she stay on a perch or do you have to put her in a burrito or a box?
She goes in a bucket.
The shade
It looks
bucket.
it looks like it's a metal colander kind of.
What?
It looks like a metal colander that they put her in,
They put
and
over
that's,
her?
yeah, like you pop. There's the bowl, and you pop her in the bowl, and you put the lid on it, and you weigh her.
Oh. I really wonder if they just had that around and they were like, ah, this will work.
This will work, probably. Yeah, I've seen clear ones. I've seen metal ones. Um, it's because she is flighted, and she's gonna do what she wants. So
Yeah. Yeah, chicken's the same way. She flies to the top of the um I was so embarrassed the last time I went to the vet because the tech, I guess the vet tech,
Mhm.
um told me like take out your bird and I was like, "Oh, she's free flighted. She'll fly away. Maybe
Mhm.
we should wait." And he was like, "No, it'll be fine. Just take her out." And so I did, and she did exactly what I said. She flew to the top of the tallest door, and it was like in the top of the paintings, which were too high to reach. And
Mhm.
we had this back and forth trying to get her down for maybe 20 minutes. It felt like a long time. And then at the end, after she was given the clean bill of health and all that, the vet said, "Next time, don't take your bird out." Like I was like, ah,
Aw.
I knew this was coming. But anyway,
Yeah, my other guys didn't do it as bad. Hilda, though, she went right to the tallest part of the office. Yeah, not
yeah, I think
surprised.
there's something to be said about having your bird comfortable with vet care and like being
Mhm.
held and stuff like that. But I personally was not knowledgeable enough when I got chicken to like train her to be ready for that.
Like, I feel like you can. Like like, birds are smart, and they are responsive. I saw the little birds playing basketball, like, they do lots of cool little things,
Yeah.
but at a certain point, like, I feel like it might be even too much? I
Hmm.
don't know.
Oh,
Like,
that
you don't wanna
reminds me.
overwhelm them.
No, you don't. And I don't know. There's sometimes I wonder when people are showing their overtrained parrots in videos,
Mhm.
it's like, do you actually like your bird for who they are, or are they just like a toy for you? I don't
'Cause,
know.
like, training dogs, you could develop a bond, and I think you can do the same with birds, but if you
Okay.
do it, like, I feel like you can overdo it. Alex and me was talking about, like, Alex and, Dr. Irene Pepperberg. I recall reading that, and it was like Alex did not wanna cooperate that day, and he kept saying, "Wanna go back, wanna go back, wanna go
Oh.
back." And it's like, yeah, I feel like they do it gets to be too much sometimes, and you just gotta let them be. And do
Yeah.
we try to not get it to that point? Like, don't overwhelm them with all these tricks. Just let them be a little birdie.
Yeah. Encourage their natural behaviors. Think about like what effect is this having on their well-being?
Yeah, like, don't be doing it for the TikToks. Don't, like, try I hate that. I hate when people just get birds just for, like, internet clout, which, I can't name any of, like, straight up examples, but I know they're out there.
Mm.
Um, and it's just like, "Look at my bird," and that's, like, the only reason why they have them, not for, like, companionship, just for attention, and yeah, I always worry. I get a
Mm.
little skeptical sometimes of when I see birds on the internet.
Oh, really? Like just your average everyday like account of a bird?
Oh, I just I remember this one guy who basically wanted us to give him a macaw because he wanted him to be a prop more than anything.
Mm.
Like, the way he's like, "Oh, well, I do tarot readings online, and I think he would just be great for that." And
Oh.
and his house was very not parrot friendly whatsoever. He didn't know what he would do if the bird was gonna get sick. And ever
Mm.
since then, I've always been like it's always been in the back of my head, like, how many people just want a bird for a prop versus a little homie? And then people see the
Yeah.
talking birds online and they get a bird and they don't. I think, what is it? Jenny, the one who does the comic books of the budgies that made me cry. Jenny Jinya.
Yeah.
She made a comic about that, and I wept for like 2 weeks. Let birds be birds, embrace them for who they are, not what they can do for you,
Hmm.
and
And people
balance.
too.
We'll come back to balance. And people too.
Yeah,
Same. That's what
honestly.
we can learn.
For real. And that does tie
Yeah.
back the overtraining to what I was talking about with B.F. Skinner's theory. What was
Yeah.
interesting, so there's a little surprise about his research, which is that he did a large amount of this research became very, very famous on
Oh,
pigeons.
pigeons.
Pigeons. He
I
trained
love
pigeons.
pigeons.
He actually was able to use the behavior shaping that I talked about. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned behavior shaping. It's where you
Mhm.
do like uh, incremental reinforcement whenever
Oh,
like
right.
they approximate the behavior or like a step, and you break the behavior down into steps. And at each time they approximate one step, you give them a reward, and then you build up
Oh,
to the whole behavior you want.
it's stepping up to the behavior that
Ah.
you want. Step up.
And then, so he was able to use that on pigeons to get them to play ping pong with each other, which is a famous
Oh,
video of these like two pigeons who are batting a little ping pong ball
that's so
across the table back
magnificent.
and forth. Yeah. Let me see if I can find the image and share.
One pigeon pecks the ball as it comes toward him and knocks it toward the other pigeon. Other pigeon pecks the ball back across the table. If it goes past one pigeon, the other pigeon can eat, and if it goes the other way, the other pigeon eats. So that there is it's a real game. The pigeon is reinforced
That's so
for a
cute.
cross-court shot if that is what gets the ball past his opponent.
Yeah. So that was the guy who came up with um, operant
I want to read
conditioning,
all about
which,
him now.
yeah, and he was actually kind of obsessed. He wrote a book called Walden 2. Let me stop my stream. Where he
Mm.
basically described his perfect utopian society where people like are all conditioned to be like
Oh
good
no.
in society. Yeah, so he
Um,
was a believer in social engineering. Um,
mm. Who's to
which
say that that's not happening right now?
it is absolutely happening right now. I mean, people are.
Yeah,
I am a firm
we are
believer that
conditioned.
we're all conditioned. Like we do what was reinforced, especially in childhood. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
uh, and he wanted it to be used for good. The problem is a lot of people want to use it for bad.
they want to exploit people through it instead of like aid people,
Yeah, for sure.
which is
And one thing that
crap.
was super interesting about B.F. Skinner was that the government paid for him to come up with pigeon-guided missiles in World War II.
Oh yeah, and thank God they scrapped that, cause my
Yes,
God.
I know. I was looking to see like what happened to the pigeons. Were they actually like gonna blow up? I
Homing
know.
pigeons, homing missiles. It's all coming together.
Oh my gosh.
No.
But luckily, computers were able to control missiles from there,
Hmm.
and not pigeons. But
Poor
like they were
pigeon.
successful. They were like capable enough, and the training was strong enough that they were able
Yeah,
to actually like direct the missiles to a target.
that
Um,
means a few died in the process, probably.
Okay, so we can talk about Gottman's research on relationships, which is huge and very helpful in maintaining friendly relationships. Or first, we could go into self-harm and like plucking, which I feel like that might be better to go into first so we don't end on such a dark note.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I
Let
can talk about like non-suicidal self-injury for a bit, and then you can explain how that relates to birds and plucking. Um,
mhm.
So, what we know about non suicidal self injury in humans is that the motivation behind like cutting yourself or other methods of harming yourself without the intent to actually kill yourself is that it provides relief from like
Yes.
extreme emotional turmoil.
I've done it.
You've done it.
I'm a former
Oh,
cutter, yeah.
oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me, lead me through your thought process then.
Um,
If you
let's
don't, if you're not
see.
comfortable, we don't
No,
have
no, no. Like
to.
it was in high school, so I'm like beyond it now.
Okay.
But it was during emotional turmoil.
Hmm.
My environment was not healthy. Um, like yeah, so when I would feel like this heightened sense of like dread and misery and just like I I I didn't want to die. I just wanted the emotional trauma to stop. Sometimes it was physical. Um Fighting, screaming, just it was just a bad situation. So when I first did it, I'm trying not to get too specific, but
Okay.
I remember doing it, everyone was fighting, and then I cut, and then I don't know what even drew me to do it. I think it was just the um like the knee-jerk reaction.
Really?
If I do this, this will get all of this chaos to stop.
So
And it did,
oh.
because I did it in front of my family.
Oh, interesting. It was like a call for
Yeah.
help. Like let's distract my family or get them to see how much I'm hurting.
Yeah, and they in turn was like they did stop.
Okay.
They just saw me as crazy, but it stopped.
Hmm.
And everyone went to their rooms more or less, and I went into my area and just yeah, I was like, "Okay, great, it stopped." And then whenever I got to that same heightened place of just misery, I would do it again and something would like click in my brain and there was relief.
Hmm.
I don't know how to exactly explain the chemicals of that, but it was like jumping into ice water in a way. Like it was just a shock. It
Okay.
was like a shock to the system, and I would calm down.
Interesting. It wouldn't cause distress when you did it.
Yeah, well, you figure it would.
Yeah, you figure like, ow, this hurts. At least that's what I would think.
Yeah, it's like it felt like a slap to the head in a way. It's just like, okay, knock it off. And I was
Ah,
fine for a little bit.
interesting. I've heard like maybe it releases some sort of dopamine,
I think
perhaps.
so. I think it was either like serotonin or dopamine, one of those. And then that would reinforce the behavior, which is not
Ah,
too different with what happens with the birds based
okay.
on my observations. Um, like I'll go into let's see. Well, do you want to just get more into the description of
Um,
it or
no, go ahead and talk about how you feel like it your experience can mirror the birds.
um so I wrote down there some ways you find like self-harm in birds is you get feather barbing where they just kind of chew the edges of their feathers and they kind of look dark at the end, which Mikey does. He does it
Hmm.
to himself and he does it to Pico's head feathers. Um I don't know exactly why. I just he does it. He acts normal other than that. He's a happy-go-lucky bird. So I don't I feel I relate it to like biting your nails.
Hmm.
Like if you bite your nails out of habit, okay, it's not too bad. If it gets to break skin, that's when it does get bad and you have to do something about it. But it's just like a habit that he does.
Okay.
Um, there's the
You said
overpreening of the partner. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't understand. You said it makes the feathers look dark at the end? Like it
Yeah,
just
so they
dyes
chew
them?
it. I guess so. It gets rid of the oils, I
Okay.
believe, and it just they look dark, like dark
Oh,
gray. So he'll have like a nice green feather, and at the edges of it, it's like it's dark gray. That's why he kind of
okay.
looks a little rough because he does that out of a habit. And
I
once the
see.
habit starts, it's tough to break him of it because you don't really have bird therapists.
No.
Yeah, behavioralists, but I don't know if that works the same. We should probably get one on the stream and they could discuss it further.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Because otherwise
Um,
I'm just assuming things. So there's the feather barving, overpreening, another habit, plucking. They'll either pluck a certain part of their body or their whole body. Usually not plucking the wings. And it can get up to like having small to large gaping wounds on their
wow.
bodies. And you look at this bird and you're like, how are you alive? Like I've seen some bad stuff notoriously in cockatoos, like Moluccans and
Mm.
umbrellas. And I think it's because they are so dynamic. They are not meant to be caged at all. Um they're too smart, too sensitive, and I guess the stress or limitations of being in captivity makes them do it. Like they get sexually frustrated, they can get anxious, um which, the whole frustration and anxiety and just feeling miserable, I believe it brings them to do this.
I see.
Not too different than humans.
Yeah, but so it sounds like in your personal experience, it was a rather extreme event that triggered
Mhm.
this. But with birds, do you think it's more like just a slow burn that ends up leading them into it?
It could be a slow burn. Like I notice younger birds don't do it. It's usually the more adults. And yeah, just I think frustration of it all might lead into that. Environmental, physical frustrations. And them picking themselves alleviates it, just like it alleviated me when I was a cutter.
I'm so sad that happened to
Mm.
you.
Yeah, no, it was rough, and like I talk about it so that if anyone else has gone through it, like, no, there is hope. Yes, it gets better. Sometimes people, it might not get better because they can't escape their situation.
Mhm.
Um, so my heart goes out to them, but just don't stop trying. Um, and find coping techniques online. Like some people said, take an ice cube to where you cut instead of taking something sharp, and that'll kind of give you the same click in your
Mhm.
brain, of shock, and not harm you. So I did get caught. My friend, uh, because I was actually like doing it in the back of class, and my friend, who was the sweetest person, who I'm still friends with, she took me to the counselor, and I didn't even know I had access to a counselor. And then they kind of got the ball rolling to help me get help. So honestly, if someone's doing it for attention, it might be a cry for help. It's like,
I
please,
see.
somebody help me. I don't know how to ask. I don't know who to turn to. Because I didn't know how to ask for help, because every time I asked for help, like there was no help. Least
Yeah.
in my growing up. So it's like I just got to deal with this myself.
Mhm.
And then my wonderful friend was like, "No, come here. I know what to do."
Oh, thank goodness for that friend. Oh, and birds in captivity can also pluck due to medical issues, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, do you know an example, like
Nutrition
nutrition?
deficiencies, an irritant, maybe some mites, maybe it's too dry, not humid enough. Um, Maybe they're having a bad molt. So there's a lot of other reasons outside of the psychological area, but I'm finding based on Lolita that, so we did a workup on Lolo,
Mhm.
and we tried give her pain medicine to see if like she had arthritis or pain. She kept boo-booing her leg.
Oh.
Then we tried the psychological stuff, and that
Mhm.
got her to stop boo-booing her leg.
Oh.
However, Milo, who lost the person that he loved for this reason or that, um that I think is trauma. And but I don't know, like the psychological medicine isn't working on him like it worked on Lolo. So I'm weaning him off of that, and we might try Lupron because he is kind of horny.
Wait, so when you say the psychological approach, you're talking about like pharmacological, like
Yeah,
giving of drugs.
pharmacological based on we think Lolo's just anxious. She's a sweetie pie and she's sensitive and she's anxious. And that's
Okay.
why this stuff is working for her. And
Okay,
then you got
that's good.
Jester. Jester started to boo-boo herself after she got injured. But I think that was more of an irritation
Hmm.
because of the feathers coming back and pain, and I think she was just expressing that she was irritated. So we gave her a collar for a little bit, and I would see if me taking it off of her for a little while and observe, and oh, okay, she's not plucking, so now I can keep the collar off. So that was like a temporary thing.
I see. So it sounds
Yeah,
like
there's
there's a
lots of
lot of different reasons. Like you need maybe a professional who can look holistically at the bird and see,
I
like
think
find
so.
out where the boo-booing is coming from.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that.
I personally am a huge fan of research about relationships, and I really like the studies of like attraction, like why are people attracted to certain
Oh.
people. There's not much research on attraction, but there's a ton on relationships, and the most famous researcher that everybody cites when it comes to like marriages and things is John and Julie Gottman. There are a couple that have done studies. Have you heard about Gottman's ability to predict divorce with like 90% accuracy?
No, but that's very interesting.
Yeah, so he just will take like a little short video of a couple talking about something they're having a conflict over, and from that video, they can like quantify the emotional responses they had to each other, facial expressions, and
Mhm.
things like that, and then determine like with over 90% accuracy whether they'll still be together after a period of time.
I think I saw this on a TED Talk.
Oh yeah.
It
It's
sounds
huge.
very TED Talky. Yeah, I think
TED
I've heard
Talk.
it. Well, yeah, no, like I've heard someone discuss it during a TED Talk, so it's
Gotcha.
somewhere in the recesses of my brain. But
Yeah, it's
mhm.
hugely popular. It's probably being talked about on like TikTok and stuff. But uh, he basically took a ratio of um, positive to negative um, affect toward each other. So, like, for example, if you roll your eyes at something your partner says, that is seen as contempt. And contempt is one of the
Oh,
worst things that you could do in a relationship toward your partner.
no eye rolling.
Yeah, it just predicts that you think they're beneath you, you're better than
Oh, I
them. That's
never
not
roll
very
my
healthy.
eyes.
That's
So
I don't think you
maybe
have contempt for people. That's probably why.
no, never rolled my eyes.
I've probably rolled my eyes more than I should, but
Probably hanging out with
um
me. It's like, oh,
uh,
God damn it.
no, anyway, so the
Yeah.
four horsemen of the apocalypse is what he calls these four negative affects that you can display toward your partner, which is criticism, which is like I guess saying if you tell someone like you did something bad, like I don't like that you did that. Contempt, like eye rolling or saying they're dumb or something like that. Defensiveness, so anytime they come to you with a complaint, then you say, no, no, I'm not, I didn't do that. That's being defensive.
Mm.
And then stonewalling, whereas when you just don't let them, you just ignore them when they come to you with a problem. Um,
Aw.
yeah, so those are the four horsemen, and if they're seen high enough in your relationship, then you are very likely to be divorced before you die. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so they also it didn't only depend on showing like these very like I don't know, spicy techniques in your conflict. It depended also on how often you had positive affect towards each other. So if you're really, really spicy and you show criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling, you're really likely to be divorced soon.
And not
Um,
have friends.
yeah, probably. And then if you don't do that so much, but you don't have any positive interactions with each other, like little signs that you like the person you're talking to, then you're predicted to divorce in the long term, because
Oh,
a relationship without love won't last forever.
no, as it shouldn't.
Yeah, like you're more
Get
likely
out
to
of here
stay
with
together
that.
if you just like each other, and also if you don't like do these harmful communication techniques.
Yeah.
And so I guess I wanted to ask you how you would apply this to birds, and like would they pick up on if you're being contemptuous of them or something like that?
See, I can't. I feel like they would. Just based on how like receptive some of my burbs are to my moods, my reactions. Just if I had contempt for my burb, I think they would sense it, or they would mess with me and try to like alleviate it. I don't know.
Oh.
Like, just I've never had any contempt for my burbs though.
Yeah, well, that's good. Do you think that people may criticize their birds too much, and maybe that's harming their relationship, or ignoring their bird, like stonewalling their bird?
Ignoring them, so I'm told to like if they're screaming to just let them scream, and as
Hmm.
soon as they're quiet, do whatever makes them happy and make that as like a positive reinforcement thing.
Okay.
Although I heard someone say that's not a good idea.
It sounds like if it's not good for us, it's probably not good for them either,
Pretty
is the gist
much.
I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you
that's why
wouldn't.
like treat a bird as you'd like to be treated, or treat a bird like your
Yeah.
friend. Treat a bird like they're your baby.
Hmm.
And you don't want them to have like endless therapy sessions when they grow up.
Yeah.
Because birds don't have therapy, so you have to
Nope.
be extra nice to them and extra patient with them.
Yeah. If only we could
Ignoring
ask
them,
them
stonewalling
questions.
them, that's awful. Like, yeah, ignoring your bird. Some people put them in the closet.
Ah.
Like my guys, they sleep in the closet for like protection at night from because we
Mhm.
have a cat, and just they all fly into there of their own. Like they want to go in there, but there's people who will just leave them in there, and so they would
Oh.
shut up and as a punishment.
Oh no.
So I feel like would that be stonewalling? It's like I'm gonna pretend you don't exist and put you in the closet.
Yeah, it's that, and also just depriving them of like living in the daylight at the
Yeah.
same time. It's yeah. I was thinking of stonewalling as like if your bird is trying to communicate with you, that you just ignore them and push through and do it anyway, or
Like right now they're screaming because they're flock calling to me because they want me.
oh,
But I have to ignore them at the moment because I'm doing something.
I see. Should we speed up and like get through
No,
the
because they're
rest
gonna
of
be
this so
doing
they
this no
can?
matter what.
Okay.
But no, like they'll get their snuggles. They have to unfortunately wait.
Well, I'm guessing that we should probably take the research on like having a high ratio of good interactions to negative interactions and like apply that to our relationships with our birds. Like just try to
I
like
would agree.
if you saying like no, 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 bad, and that's all they ever see from you, they're probably not going to be very happy, and it could degrade their mental health.
And cause them to pluck.
Yeah. So maybe
There's
like
also
oh, go ahead.
there's word floating around that what is it? There's a theory that if they are taking from their parents too soon, they fail to learn how to bird
Oh.
and may result in just psychological issues, such as plucking and self-harm and yeah, because it's like they communicate with their babies just like humans do. So when
Oh.
they take them away too soon, um, of course it's gonna lead to like poor behavior. They might think they're human, they'll try to bond with the human. Like, okay, so for Ellie Bird, she was young when I got her, before I knew you could adopt, what have you. She was young, loved me, was a cute little baby. She hit puberty. She loved my dad. I was her parent. She didn't want a parent anymore. She wanted a partner. So she picked my dad to be her partner, and every time I went over to her, she would lunge at me and like snuggle with him. And I'm like, you
Oh.
little naughty baby. Um, but that's more of the not knowing how to bird, not having the ability to bird. She's choose humans because she didn't have the opportunity to choose another bird.
Ah.
Um, which I think that's a little bit sad if you think about it.
Yeah. I know some people were interested in talking about like solo birds, so maybe we should talk about that more
Oh,
in another episode.
yeah. My like moments of insightfulness come and go sometimes.
We don't have
Yeah.
much left. I wanted to talk about this thing that's gone viral on TikTok called the bird
Oh,
test. Have you heard about that?
oh, is that with the blanket and disappearing?
No, that's I think that's something different. I have a
Oh, if
TikTok
it's
I
with the
will
mirror,
share. We can
show it to me.
Apparently a lot of people don't know what the bird test is, which I'm sure there's like a better name for it, but that's wild to me because I live and die by the fucking bird test, okay? Because it never fails. And if you don't know what the bird test is, it's like a test to gauge like whether or not a relationship will be successful. And usually it's in the context of a romantic relationship, but I always do this with like friends, family members, literally anyone that I meet. If they pass the bird test, I tell them so fast because this shit is so fascinating, okay? And I'll give you an example. I meet this girl, we start becoming like newer friends, and we go to Starbucks one day. We're sitting at this table at Starbucks, and I'm looking out the window and I see a woodpecker in a tree, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a woodpecker in that tree. This girl whips around so fast, she's like, where? I kid you not, for the next 10 minutes, the two of us stared out the Starbucks window, just watching this woodpecker fucking peck away at this tree while we Googled random facts about woodpeckers, okay? Now, the bird test states that if you're with someone, whoever you're gonna do the test with, romantic or not, if you say something that could be deemed like insignificant and your partner responds with like genuine curiosity, like, what woodpecker, where? That's a really good sign that your relationship will last a long time. But if they like blow you off, they don't acknowledge you, and they're just like, oh, cool, like a woodpecker, that's a really bad sign. And again, it's for romantic relationships, but I'm telling you, do this with your friends, do this with your family members, because that girl and I, still homies as fuck, all right? The bird test never fucking fails.
Yeah, I don't know, like if someone's see if it's hard. That's a hard situation because if it is a bird, I am gonna Google about the bird, and I probably have a friend who likes birds, and we'll just go off and
I
like.
see.
Oh well, when you were talking about certain psychological stuff or like birdie stuff, I'd be like, oh shit, let me go Google that. Like I'm of that nature to do that. But if I
Ah.
don't do it now, I feel like, am I being a bad friend? Because I'm always thinking, am I being a bad friend? Because I'm a people pleaser, but
Mm.
also because it's just the right thing to do is to try to be a good friend.
Yeah.
This is blowing my mind.
Well, so yeah, you don't seem like the kind of person who would reject a bid for connection. So that's the research that I think backs this the best is John and Julie
Oh,
Gottman. They researched what's called like a bid for connection, where if you
okay.
basically go up to your partner and say something that you want their attention on, better relationships have people who are responsive to bids for connection, which is, I guess, what this
Uh,
TikTok is getting at. So this isn't not a great example for us because we love birds. It would probably be better if we tweaked it to be something that we're not necessarily interested in. Like if someone's like, "Yo, look at this car engine." If I were to say, "Oh, I'm not interested in that," even if it was someone I loved, that would be a bad sign because
yeah, I like
it's
cars.
okay.
I
What's
like to
something you're not
connect.
interested in?
That's the thing is I like to connect. You see me
Ah,
at Ren Fair. You see me
yeah.
like trying to like be cool with everybody because
Well,
it's just a nice thing to do.
yeah. Well, so is there, ignoring whether someone else might be interested in it, is there something that you're just not interested in? Like
Sports.
chemistry or yeah, sports. But like
I
it
don't
so
give a damn about sports, but I will ask questions, be like, what they
yeah.
doing?
That's because you're
Oh,
responding to their bid for connection. You're a
yeah.
very responsive friend and partner, and that means that your relationships are more likely to be healthy.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah, I have like the connections I have with people that are like really close. I freaking like I hold them very close and if anyone tries to jeopardize them or start something or bring someone down that's close to me, I'll be like I will fight you.
I wonder. Yeah, I guess that could also be like being defensive of someone.
I have claimed them. This is my friend. You make them upset, I will make you upset.
Yeah, that is. So the Gottman calls it turning towards one another when you
Mhm.
like take an active interest in another person's life, and that's
Ah.
married couples that stayed married turn toward each other 86% of the time, compared to couples that divorced, which averaged only 33% of the time.
Oh.
Um, which I wonder if, I'm turning toward my bird as much as I'd like to. When I read stuff like this, I don't only want to apply it to, just, a romantic relationship, but all the relationships I have in my life.
Oh, like when something upsets my bird, I'm like, "Okay, what's upsetting you right now?" And I'll, like,
Yeah.
investigate the room and da 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 da, and the last 2 days, there was a hawk that freaked him out, and
Oh, poor
yeah, and
birdie.
or my little voodoo doll freaked out Jester, and I don't think it was, like, the soul inside the voodoo doll, I think it was just the holographic butterfly on his chest.
Yeah.
So so I'll, like, "Let me take this away from Jester." She
Oh,
peeps so loud.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, so it sounds
Uh,
like perhaps um maybe I don't know, maybe it's possible people ignore their birds like when they freak out about something, and
mhm.
it might make the bird happier or give you a better relationship if you respond to it and be like, "Hey, what's going on? What's the
Yeah,
thing
and, like,
you're
if you
looking at?"
remedy it or console them, like, that's probably a bonding experience right
Yeah.
there. See you as a little protector,
Yeah,
and
they'll
they
know they can
learn.
trust you.
Yes, trust is the best thing with burbs.
I mean, how amazing is it that like this little flighty, anxious creature will just like sit on you and sit on your hand and pancake, knowing that they're safe.
Ah,
That's so
yeah.
wonderful.
It is, that is the best feeling, but, like, even though Hilda will never let me like, like, hold her, pancake her, she does trust me enough to land on my head. She washed her face in my hands, which was a
Mhm.
big deal. So, like, every bird is different, and, like, little gestures like that might mean more depending on the bird. So just
Gotcha.
because your bird isn't landing on you doesn't mean she never will or, she hates you, although it
Hmm.
could be that she's just scared.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sometimes, like, Chicken is a very big believer in personal space. Like, she wants to be
Mm.
near us, but she doesn't want us encroaching on her personal space. And so we
Yeah.
respect that and love
Yeah.
her for who she is.
That's the moral of the story is love your bird for who they are and do
Yeah.
what you can to, like, make their life with you the best it can be through the practices, like, you know, seeing what their needs are, um, protecting them as we were just talking about,
Mhm.
uh, finding what makes them happy, find what makes them upset. Um, I would say even like maybe push the boundaries just a little to see if like they come out of their shell.
Interesting. How so?
Like I remember reading about the comfort zone, the panic zone, and then in between there is like the butter zone where it's like growth can happen.
Okay.
Um, so like you don't want to push your bird too hard to say come out of their shell. But you can always just make little tiny attempts to try to, coax them to be more social. Like with Hilda, I just gradually started throwing toys around with her one day, and she was like, she understands me, and that's how we bonded.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Ever
That's like
since then.
challenge them.
Yeah, it's challenge it a little bit.
Yeah. Not challenge them to a fight. That's what it sounded like when I said that.
If it was Hilda, then yes, and she would love it.
She would enjoy that. Yeah. That's
She
bonding for Hilda.
would. She loves to murder the whoopee. She likes to play like Battle the Whoopee game where just bounce her and then she runs to her cage, jingles a toy, runs back out, bounces on the Whoopee, tries to kill it, and then like we just do back and forth.
What's a whoopee?
It's a little rag. It's a
Oh.
rag.
How do you
She
spell
likes to
that?
bully. Woobie or a
Oh.
Y. I call it Whoopee.
It looks like a bunch of camo stuff that came up.
What? Really?
Is it a camo rag?
It's like a baby blanket.
Whoopee. Did I spell it wrong? I probably did.
I mean, as people would say, a baby blanket is Whoopee baby blanket.
Whoopee blanket. I've never heard of a
Whoop-
whoopee before. They're all
Uh,
camos still. What is this?
maybe is it camo babies? Hold up, it's High Speed Daddy. I think it's like lunch bags, dad bags. Yeah, it is. It is a baby thing, but for like camo dads.
What the heck?
Yeah,
Camo
because look, there's
dads.
like dad bags,
I just saw this
diaper
like
bags.
starfish shaped. Let me show you this.
Oh no, is it cute?
Amazon. Look at this baby blanket thing.
Oh God,
Okay, sorry, I had to show you
that's child abuse.
that. Oh no. The content warning was for that.
uh, no, if someone takes a picture of the kid like that and like they post it online, that is child abuse because they will hate that.
Oh, okay.
Don't
Wait,
bully.
we should probably wrap. Thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed
Thank
this
you.
podcast and let us know what you think. Send us future topics that you might be interested in, questions, and memes to react to.
Huzzah.
Huzzah!